Who's right? As between Russia and Ukraine. Surprise! That's a legitimate subject for debate. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. 2 days ago, a Twitter user who has long criticized the U.S. government made an extremely provocative statement. At the head of what is now a 41-tweet thread, she said, and I quote, "I stand with Russia," close quote. Whoa! In the ensuing thread, she set forth her reasons for saying such a thing. Those reasons contain what purports to be photographic, video, and other evidence to support her stance. And that evidence suggests that not only is Ukraine in the wrong, but worse, Ukraine has always aided and abetted the most dangerous ideologies and oligarchies the West has known since the days of the Roman Empire. And if half this evidence is valid, this should give pause to anyone voting to send any more treasure to Ukraine. It should also give pause to any ordinary citizen who would elect any congressman or senator who casts such votes. What is this evidence? Before I lay it out, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which quotes, sort of, George Orwell as saying, "Boy, did I call it, or what?" One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, do you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. Okay, let's get started. The user who dropped this thread goes by the name of Jennifer Long. Who is Jennifer Long? She has been a member of Twitter since 2013. She has consistently protested things like vax and mask mandates for the virus that shall remain nameless. When Kaneko the Great started his thread about the Ohio train wreck, she started one of her own. I have a link in the description to the anchor tweet. And the anchor tweets from 9 other threads she started. When Detroit had its own nearby train wreck, she covered that too, second thread. But on February 2nd, she dropped a long thread, the third, leading with this quote from Vladimir Putin: "I will make public the depopulation plan the United States and Europe have planned. The scientists hidden in the Ukrainian bioweapons labs we captured are in Moscow right now. They're disclosing everything." Unquote Vladimir Putin. And remember, Kaneko the Great talked about the same kind of thing late the night before, after user War Clandestine revealed much more. So, what were the 7 other threads about? I'll tell you. Number 4, quotes Putin as saying, "Do you know why your media programs you to hate me? Because I told them the New World Order was not welcome in my land," close quote. Number 5, a photo of Russian veterans standing in front of St. Basil's in Moscow. And by the way, Putin reactivated that as a genuine cathedral, with this caption: "Don't worry, if the Nazis come back, so will we." Number 6. Now here's one about Dr. Peter Hotez, head of tropical diseases at Baylor College of Medicine, my alma mater. I didn't know Dr. Hotez. In my day, the big parasitologist was Dr. Major Bradshaw, who also was the assistant dean. Anyway, Jennifer is talking about Dr. Hotez, says, quote, "His obsession with jabs is disturbing. His background is in pediatrics. Do you think he will target children?" Close quote. Now what she's talking about is this. Dr. Hotez wants to develop vaccines and antibody preparations against common parasites like Johnny Alamblia, tapeworms, schistosomes, and maybe the hot tub parasite, Naegleria fowleri. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned sanitation? Again, as a medical degree holder and a graduate of that institution, I think Dr. Hotez is barking up the wrong tree. And if that's the person whom Biden wants to appoint to replace Anthony S. Fauci, look out. Number 7. Now here's one reminding everybody of how the National Socialists took over Germany, doing much the same as what's been happening in this country. Number 8. How the CDC is testing jabs for chickens and monkeys or some such thing. Number 9. Well, it's that same quote from Putin about how he told the NWO that they were not welcome. But now she's saying, quote, if this is Russia's message, check. I do not consent to any tyranny. This, meaning the NWO, is not what I want for myself or future generations. As an American, I stand with Russia. Close quote. And the last, a thread she began with a quote of another tweet with a very chilling embedded video. It seems the Ukrainians are practicing impressment. The way the British used to do the draft, just go out and grab people off the street to ship them off to induction centers. In the video, you see one such impressment involving apparently a boy of 16. Now, much of this material others have already verified. The rest, one might be able to verify some of it from historical research, but even the material in these earlier threads is mild compared to what Jennifer Long revealed starting 2 days ago. She supports these revelations whenever possible with links, but because I cannot independently judge the veracity of her sources, I can only compare her evidence to other evidence I have seen, some of which I've already talked about. Some, but not all. And if I can't, then I must regard that part as unverified rumor and ask that you thought I was going to tell you to take it with a grain of salt, didn't you? Not this time. I want to suggest that you investigate further for yourselves. And now the thread. I have links in the description to the odd-numbered tweets, beginning with the first, or anchor tweet. Some of what I'm going to recite is text, and some will be descriptions of the embeds. So, here goes. Quote, I stand with Russia. The rest of you can be useful idiots. Close quote. With an embedded video running 7 to 8 minutes long, giving full particulars of the history of Ukraine from the end of the Second World War until today. It's going to shock you. I'll tell you that. I'll just let you click through and play it for yourselves. Next, this is engineered, she says, and here she embeds her thread about the Detroit train wreck. Next, her thread about the Ohio train wreck and 3 more that had occurred before she finished that particular thread. Then a link to an article saying that the Norfolk Southern Railroad helped convince regulators to lift certain braking rules and hazardous material safety rules. Next, a link to that thread quoting Putin as saying that he will reveal the depopulation, and he's got a bunch of doctors Frankenstein singing like canaries. Next, her If This Is Russia's Message thread. And now, a series of short tweets with a heartfelt and angry message. Quote, my fellow Americans are really letting me down. Who is fighting the globalists? Seriously ask yourselves that question. But everyone can sit back and wonder why they test positive for AIDS in the meantime. Yay! And wonder about all the increasing sudden deaths as the cover story for their chemical concoctions of death. Here's where our tax money goes to. Duct taping people and especially children to poles in Ukraine or using them in battle for these wars, close quote. And here she embeds 2 pictures. Now, what can that possibly be about? I don't know. She won't explain, but neither will anyone else. Moving on, quote, it's a battle of good versus evil. Simple as that. Please click on each subtweet for additional links above. Putin warned about our population going down in 2013. He's been right all along. Should I link the video I have of them kidnapping teenagers off the street in Ukraine to use as soldiers? Is this what you need to see? See who else is standing for Russia. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, close quote, with a link to another thread announcing an event titled Rage Against the War Machine. And right after that, she links to thread 10 above, the one with the impressment video. Her next tweet described what that was all about. Next, we see two maps of NATO from 1998 and 2022. You can see that except for Austria, Hungary, Bosnia, Serbia, and so far, Sweden and Finland to the north, all of Europe, including the former Warsaw Pact countries outside of former Soviet Russia, have joined NATO. That also includes Moldova, which is the former Moldavian SSR. That's what the Russians are afraid of. Couple that with the video at the beginning of the thread and you can see why. The next tweet has a map of the continental USA showing where those 5 train wrecks have happened lately. Next, a montage of very interesting pictures to give you a perspective on Ukraine. I especially want to call your attention to the top right-hand graphic. It shows the Ukrainian crest, the sigil of the Canaanite deity Moloch, and a symbol from the defunct country of Khazaria, which used to occupy that territory. These symbols are all alike. Then below this, a graphic with portraits of Joe Biden, John Kerry, Nancy Pelosi, and Mitt Romney, with arrows all pointing to a map of Ukraine, and this caption: what are the odds of 4 people all having children working for Ukrainian gas companies? Now she starts again, quote, people that want to attack me for Putin or anyone that is a man of God, you are not my friend and not on my side. Do your research or see my already done research in links as suggested above. Putin calls out the Satanists and the globalists, close quote. And her next tweet, I kid you not, is an animated graphic showing Putin holding his nose and dropping into a dunk tank. All the way. Do you know what we call that? Oh, come on, you know, baptism. Then another set of 4 pictures. One is a cartoon saying that the narrative is the Russian bear roaring at Ukraine. But the reality is that Ukraine poked the bear, with the US, NATO, and Britain looking on with silly grins on their faces. Next, Putin calling out the CIA as a rogue element of the deep state. Next, that same picture I told you about with the caption about how he told the New World Order they weren't welcome. And last, a picture of Ukrainian soldiers with quite a collection of flags. A NATO flag, a flag of the Azov Battalion, and a German National Socialistic flag that absolutely was left over from the Second World War. Let's take a break here, because I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides. Either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com. Learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Going back to the thread, I just saw one tweet that I think she could have left out. It shows someone looking into a cell phone screen and the caption says, when you're not even a religious person, but you still recognize biblical prophecy unfolding in real time? Well, not exactly. The prophet Ezekiel mentioned a war with a Gog and Magog, leading a coalition of Arabs and Iranians against Israel. Now, I will say that Israel needs to stay out of this. But so far, we're not seeing any movement toward Israel from that quarter. And Vladimir Putin, the man who brought the Orthodox Church back strong after the communists tried to stamp it out, does not strike me as the kind who would fulfill that prophecy. So I have to say, I don't know what biblical prophecy Jennifer Long is talking about. But maybe what we're really seeing is not a prophetic fulfillment, but a repetition of an earlier campaign by Nebuchadnezzar the Great. Next, a pair of graphics. One of them repeats Putin calling out the CIA, but another has a picture of the devil, and this caption: "Every time the fire dies down, more Democrats are tossed in to warm themselves." Next, two graphics. One showing what Agenda 2030 is all about, and another showing a humaniform robot holding a human skull. Next is a link to Vladimir Putin's address to his people, titled Approaching the Precipice. The next tweet I won't even discuss. I had to keep things family friendly. Then a link to a very interesting thread pointing out that the Russian Orthodox Church takes transhumanism very seriously. As an aside, so do I, and I regard it as a threat. Next, we see a graphic showing all the brands that BlackRock Holdings owns. Lots of brands you thought you could trust. I won't list them here. Just click through and you'll see them. Then a link to a poll of some kind running Putin for President of the United States. And right away I have to say, that would be unconstitutional. And also beside the point, Putin is a Russian of the Russians, and Russia is his first love. Next, a very simple tweet. Good or evil? Choose. And, all right. Now we know the biblical prophecy she might mean. She quotes Zechariah chapter 14, talking about the plague that will strike all nations that fight against Jerusalem. I won't describe it further. Look it up. Then the most serious allegation yet, saying Russian troops have uncovered an organ harvesting operation in Ukraine. Children's organs. Could that have anything to do with those children taped to poles? Again, I don't know, and she won't explain. Next, four graphics. One talking about that fire in a Florida plant nursery. The second, the cover of a book by Benjamin Abelow titled How the West Brought War to Ukraine. The third quoting Bill Gates as thinking another disease would strike and kill 30 million people. And last, an article about Paul Massaro of the Helsinki Commission actually having an Azov battalion flag in his office. Next, an animated graphic about putting on the full armor of God. Then four pictures that I won't describe here. They're on the off-color side. Next, a picture of Putin, quoting him. To forgive the terrorists is up to God, but to send them to him is up to me. A little grandiose and forthright, too. Now, here's something interesting. A direct comparison of Volodymyr Zelensky's measures and those of the leader of National Socialist Germany. Turns out, Zelensky is following that other man's program, pretty much straight down the line. Everything that other leader did, Zelensky is doing today. Next, Jennifer Long switches back to this country and shows another map of the train wrecks. But this map shows plainly which states they're happening in. Ohio, Arizona, Texas, Louisiana, South Carolina, Michigan, with another mention of that big plastic souvenir plant fire in Kissimmee, Florida. And last, now this last tweet links to an article by a correspondent at Arutz Sheva, Israel National News. I have a link to it in the description. This correspondent alleges, I say again alleges, that a General Smith, presumably General Eric Smith, the Commandant of the United States Marines, received an anonymous tip that agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation were preparing to bomb an electrical substation near Boise, Idaho during last Sunday's Super Bowl. General Smith sent a small force, I would say about half a platoon from what came later, with one officer in charge. That officer deployed one squad each to guard 3 substations in Boise, Eagle, and Meridian, Idaho. Well, during the halftime show, a team of saboteurs did show up at substation Meridian. They wore gear typical of that which President Donald J. Trump has sold to interested supporters. Furthermore, they had festooned their vehicle with bumper stickers pledging support for Trump should he seek re-election next year. In addition, 1 carried bolt cutters and 2 had what looked like Armalite AR-15 rifles slung over their shoulders. The Marine squad waited for this irregular fire team to cut the padlock that secured the gate. Then they challenged the 4. That was when one of the riflemen unlimbered his rifle, chambered around, and aimed at the Marines. That was his last mistake. The Marines opened fire, thus terminating that fire team with extreme prejudice, and to the last man. Upon searching the 4, the Marines recovered several magazines, not this kind, the shooting kind, and a pouch of C4 plastic explosive, but no identification. The vehicle came literally from a laundromat in Wilmington, Delaware. But 2 of the 4 turned out to be FBI out of the Spokane, Washington field office. And the Marines proved that with fingerprints. Reaction to the thread was about 50-50 favorable versus unfavorable. Russia has gained a reputation for empire building in the Soviet era, and that surely weighed on many minds. But when this is said, the same people who think Putin is the villain also thought Trump was a villain. At least one user remembered, well, losing half his family to the Soviet army and the other half to the Wehrmacht. I have a link to his tweet in the description. Now, my analysis. Now listen, I don't suggest that Vladimir Putin is running his special military operation to save the world or anything as grand as that. He is fighting to save the nation state, the civilizational state that he leads. But much of what Jennifer Long reveals in this thread, others have revealed before and in other contexts. Some of the allegations, especially the new ones, are difficult to believe and require further investigation. I've heard before about the impressment of children, but Ukrainian soldiers seizing and taping children to poles, I haven't the slightest idea what that could be about. Breach of discipline, psychological warfare. Even Jennifer Long offers no explanation, only the photographs. Again, Russia's reputation for empire building weighs on people's minds. No doubt those drumming up war fever in America are counting on that. But the only Soviet leader who had any appetite for world conquest was Nikita S. Khrushchev. His eventual successor, Mikhail S. Gorbachev, surrendered any such ambitions. Russians have always expressed fear of the American CIA. The Soviets called them the Dark Forces. Well, Bradley Dean and other contributors to Conservative News and Views have said much the same. And so did the author of the video at the top of the thread. The only flaw in our argument is the citation of biblical prophecy, but I've talked about that already. So what do we have? Well, I admit, this thread seems to have everything thrown in but the kitchen sink. If I were putting up such a thread, I would probably take better care to organize it. But I'll tell you this, no one should still be thinking that the question of who's right and who's wrong as between Russia and Ukraine is settled. And certainly not settled in favor of Ukraine. There's a lot to unpack in that thread, and somebody needs to check it out. And we can do with a little less mindless acquiescence to a government narrative. Links to the description of the article, to the anchor tweets from 10 of Jennifer Long's previous threads, to her current thread, to the article about Marines intercepting a rogue team of FBIs, to one tweet in reaction to the thread, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account, and to conservative views and views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel, and I'm going to link to the Ukraine playlist, my civilizational state video, and the one about the Ohio train wreck. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.